I would have to say that the tour that we got so far is probably the best tour that I've ever been on. It was supposedly the beverage of choice by Al Capone, but the buttered popcorn is a little nice boop, twist. Hey friends, welcome back to the house for another drink. It's been a little while.
It has. We've been a little busy.
We have been quite busy on the wedding planning front and working on our Project Clara. If you haven't seen those videos of our Mustang and the rest of my process with that, we have just been under a time crunch and having so many things that we had to prioritize. But we are excited to get back into sharing another awesome spirit with you. One that we've actually had since late last year, December-ish time frame.
Yeah, it was December. It feels so long ago.
It
but
does.
Then, I'm doing the math here. I'm going, okay, so it's March now, and then that was not that long ago.
It was not.
It was not that long ago.
It does feel a long time ago. It's so crazy. But we were over in Nebraska visiting family, and like we typically enjoy doing, of taking little side tracks of our journeys to explore something that we really enjoy, whether that's breweries or distilleries. So we ended up in Templeton, Iowa.
If you're familiar with the geography of Iowa, you'll know Templeton is nowhere near the interstate.
No. It's nothing but farms and cattle the entire way back. But when you get there, it is an absolutely gorgeous distillery. And
Beautiful.
I would have to say that the tour that we got so far is probably the best tour that I've ever been on.
They do an incredible job of combining all of not just their distillery history and not just like the history of spirits, but town history. It's almost like taking a tour through what put Templeton, Iowa on the map in the first place. So what did put Templeton, Iowa on the map?
Duh, spirits. And prohibition, really. Templeton Distillery themselves were founded in 2006, and it was a collab by the co-founders Merrill Kirkhoff, Scott Bush, and Infinium Spirits. But they were way back before that from an illegal standpoint.
So they went legit.
They did go legit, yes. Now, Templeton, of course, is known famously for their rye whiskey, and their goal is to really have all share the same taste profile of the Prohibition era whiskey made by Alphonse Kirkhoff. Now, Alphonse Kirkhoff is famous because he was a moonshiner there in Templeton who started to really experiment beyond just your standard moonshine with rye and charred oak barrels, and it took off.
So he took your basic sugar shine and added grains and then treated it like almost like a bourbon. Not quite as aged as quickly, as slowly.
Yeah, slowly.
But it tastes amazing.
Yes, yeah.
Well, the version we have today tastes amazing.
They got known by the moniker The Good Stuff, and was shuttled around to major cities. It was supposedly the beverage of choice by Al Capone, and the whole city during Prohibition, of course, really was taking a hit during that time frame. Many jobs were lost, there was no income, and this source of income really started to shine.
And it hit them a little earlier too. I think Templeton had a little bit more history in the game because the state of Iowa, if you're not familiar with Iowa, they are very picky, very controlling on their sale of spirits.
Yeah.
And the state of Iowa actually enacted a statewide prohibition in 1916, well before the national amendment was passed.
I think I saw 4 years ahead.
Yeah. So Alphonse was running around making his spirits and perfecting his recipe before that prohibition even took the country by storm.
Yeah. And because of that time period with so many folks that were impacted, the whole town really got involved with their bootlegging and their spirit distilling process.
If you weren't part of the distillation, if you weren't part of the fermentation or distribution, you were growing the grains. You were notifying people when police were coming. You were on the lookout for any out-of-towners who weren't really in on it.
Yeah.
You knew. Everyone knew.
Everyone knew each other, and you speak of police, so the local sheriff, the rumor is he never wore a hat, but when federal investigators were in town, he wore his hat. So everyone knew, okay, we need to have everything hidden. The local priest, there in the church, they actually had headstones that had false compartments in the headstones.
I think at one point, the priest actually helped them hide bottles in coffins too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
And during that time period, the hollow headstones, they were prevalent everywhere, not just in Iowa. So,
But they had little doors that you would just open, and there would be your bottle inside. You'd get instructions where it's at, and you would go there. Farmers would have numbers on their fence posts along the road. And if you were going to pick up a bottle, they would give you a number. You would go to that fence post and you would raise the fence post casing up, and there would be a hollow part for your bottle that sat inside of there.
That's so clever.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Because it's plausible to have a liability. It's on the easement. Oh, that's not my bottle.
Yeah. But then when the bottle was gone, you know that person came and got it. So the exchange was done.
Yeah, presumably you're leaving your cash somewhere. So
Well, yeah, we hope so. Yeah. But they hid bottles under pig farms.
Oh.
I mean, it's just amazing, and we'll make sure that we show pictures of the tour throughout this episode. But
so if you find yourself, anywhere near Templeton, Iowa, it is absolutely worth stopping in.
yes. Now, although they have a fantastic history of how they helped spirits during the Prohibition time and really pushing the envelope on trying something different and new, they also found themselves in some trouble here recently.
They did earn themselves quite the black eye.
Yeah, which probably those that are familiar with Templeton really know Templeton and their spirits and distillery. You've heard this, but for those that are not, they fell into trouble in 2015 when they were sued, and they lost that lawsuit for failing to disclose state of distillation on its labels.
Rightfully lost the suit.
Yeah. People want to know.
Settled either way. So there is a federal law since the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
You must declare what state your spirit was distilled in. And Templeton wasn't doing that. Everyone was under the assumption that it was made there in Iowa.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yeah, it was not. So they lost pretty hefty $2 million in that lawsuit. So every person that was a part of that class action got anywhere between $3 and $6 per bottle that they had purchased.
That's not a very big kickback.
No, not very big.
I wonder how much money the lawyers made.
Well, you know the answer to that. Most of it went to the lawyers.
Right.
But it actually kind of slapped them in the face and made them change their ways.
Right.
Now, in addition to that, they were also legally, quote unquote, adding flavoring to the spirits.
Right. And we've seen that not necessarily with just whiskey, but we've seen that with other spirits, like even vodka and tequila. You can add no more than 1% of your bottled product is allowed to be undisclosed flavor enhancers. It can be anywhere from coloring to a little bit of vanillin.
It could be things.
Yeah.
But I think there was probably more of a disruption on the purist side, that they really didn't want this artificial stuff
I think
to be
so.
in it.
You have, and that is a very strong calling, because I mean, even me, when I'm looking at labels and shopping, like I don't want something that's got, flavors added.
Yeah.
I want something that's more infused and a more natural product.
Yeah.
So, what else happened?
But see, this is where another famous name comes in to play that we've talked about several times in some of our other videos, and that's who?
MGP.
Yes. So MGP, that's where Templeton was doing all of this. They were doing their distilling, they were doing their bottling, they were doing their aging, all with MGP there in Indiana. And up till here recently, they still were. Now, according to reports, they have no longer taken any of their product, and they are now working on everything that's done there in-house.
Right. So, with Templeton being part of the MGP family, not owned by MGP, but they were buying spirits from MGP, kind of like outsourcing all of their alcohol production.
But a lot of companies do.
A lot of startup companies absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Templeton just wasn't disclosing it on the label.
Yeah. It's all about disclosure,
It's
though.
all about, You
gotta disclose it.
gotta disclose it.
But in order to kind of right the ship and do things in a better direction, what they did in 2018, they opened up a massive expansion, basically 34,000 square feet, that now produces 500,000 plus gallons, plus their 40,000 barrel aging warehouse. So
it is truly amazing to
Yeah.
see. It is a huge complex.
it really is. We were not allowed to go into the brick house.
Yeah.
But we got pictures, so we'll post that up on there. And it's very cool on how everything is pumped from the distillery area.
Yeah, you have the storehouse to the fermentation mash tanks.
Yes,
and
from all the tanks.
distillation.
Yeah, that pumps underground over to the rick house, and then the bottling area that everything is done by a very small team there.
Which I don't blame them for using technology to their advantage in that sense, simply because I know when we visited, it was kind of chilly and extremely windy.
Windy was nuts there.
I cannot imagine trying to operate a forklift with barrels on it, trying to move it from one building to another.
That would be crazy, crazy. But most of you, if you're familiar with Templeton, you know it's by their rye. That is what they are known for.
Makes a mean Manhattan.
Says you. Yes.
Delicious.
And they came out with the newer bottles, that actually are focusing on their new process, their new location, everything new.
In my opinion, they are doing everything to correct that blackout.
Yes.
They are, with their expansion, with all of their new production lines.
But we are not here to talk about the rye, because everybody has done that.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of set that back behind us. We are going to cover their 10-year corn. This is one of 6,000 bottles that they have produced. You just can't get it anywhere but there at the distillery.
In Templeton, Iowa.
In Templeton, Iowa.
There's your reason to go to Templeton.
Yeah. As you can see, it's been tapped into. I personally have not had any since we've tasted it in the tasting room. We took it to family over the holidays and let them experience it. You and your poor self-control have sampled it a little bit more since then.
You know, it's open and it's delicious.
Yeah, it is delicious. I mean, it's so good where we had to pick up more than one bottle before we left.
We absolutely did, knowing that it was a limited supply and that they might not be making it again.
Yeah.
So
what does this one entail? What are we going to experience with this?
Templeton corn. It's one of their experimental spirits. So they are still experimenting with some of their stock and different ages, different types of barrels that they're aging it in, but also different mash profiles. Mm-hmm. So Templeton corn, the 10-year corn, has a mash bill of corn, rye, and malted barley. So it's 48% alcohol by volume, making it 96 proof. So it's up there more than your typical spirit, but it's still incredibly smooth and mellow, just the way that Templeton really is known for. It does have, it promises to have robust flavors of vanilla and toasted oak, giving way to tropical fruits and spice, and little hints of buttered popcorn. Corn.
Yeah, of course.
Corn.
It's corn.
It's corn. Yeah, aged corn.
But the buttered popcorn is a little nice twist.
What is it? The Jelly Bellies?
Oh, yeah.
So the other thing that makes this particular bottle special is, even though it was distilled in Indiana as part of MGP stock, it was actually aged there in Iowa. Mm-hmm. So it was aged in Iowa reusing those rye barrels.
Yes.
So
you kind of have that transition there. Yeah.
Explains the limited supply, some of their experimental natures. Like they're not out there just saying, oh, well, we perfected rye whiskey, so we're done. They're out there, I think they were distilling bourbon when we were there last. And I'm just like sitting there going,
yeah, when will that be ready?
And I gotta wait 2 years to taste it. That is rude. Rude. But we're here for the corn. We're very fortunate to have picked up and stumbled upon this. So go to Templeton, see if they still have any.
Yeah, let's get into it, because I have not had any of this since December of last year in the tasting room.
It's been like 2 months.
For you?
Since like December.
Beginning of December.
Okay, so 3 months.
But still.
It's been a quarter.
I've only had it there in the tasting room. And it was good enough for me just off of that small taste that I had to have it.
Yeah, I think we kind of looked at each other and was like asking the tour guide, okay, so where can we buy this and how many bottles can we get?
Yeah. Yes. We were limited on the number of bottles that we had to get. So
curse you, Iowa.
Yeah. Very nice.
Legs so long they don't want to come down my glass.
Nope, they're staying up there. There's no burn on the nose.
Mm-mm. It smells very much like a sweet whiskey. Pick up on those oakiness, the oaky notes.
Yeah. The toasted oak for sure. I don't really get anything else on the nose from it, but it is light enough to where it's like, taste me. You know you want to.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Now you can taste it.
Is everything what I remembered it to be. Very smooth, and I can definitely see where they're coming from, the butter popcorn
Yes.
that's there. I don't really get any of the fruits on this one.
It's for me it's very fleeting on the front of the tongue. It's just it comes in really light and fruity, almost like a scotch, and then vanishes and goes straight into the toasted oak and that kind of buttery popcorn flavor.
Yeah.
Which is not overpowering, to say the least. It truly tastes like a whiskey.
Mm-hmm. It's very smooth, very light on the hug. It flows really, really well. Spices, very light. This is great sipping. You don't need to cut it.
You really don't.
Even at 96% proof, you don't need to cut this.
I think that's a testament to the Templeton brand in general. I don't think I've ever had to cut any of their spirits.
Mm-mm. No, I wouldn't even put this on ice. This would be good just to sip on. If you happen to be traveling through Iowa, or even if it's out of your way and you are a fan of spirits, the tour and the spirits, I would say, are absolutely worth the drive. It was a 2-hour off the course trip for us.
But you get to see more of Iowa.
Ooh, more cows.
And corn.
And corn. That's it.
I'm told that the eastern part of the state is much more hilly with rivers and creeks and much more scenic.
Yeah.
Templeton is out in the western part of the state.
Yeah.
Where it's very flat.
Very flat. Nothing to see there. Nothing to see. So let us know your thoughts on Templeton and their history. Did their issues kind of sour your taste buds on following their spirits, or has some of their newest ones really kind of caught you and you're now a fan? Love to hear from you on that. And also let us know what you think about this. So until next time, stay safe, take care. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.